Welcome to Inspired for More podcast. I am so happy you're here. My name is Alexandra Sauvé, and I embarked on a crazy journey of self-discovery over a decade ago. I have built and I continue to grow my multi-seven-figure sales organization, and I am insanely passionate about stepping into the very best version of ourselves and letting go of stories that no longer serve us. This podcast is long overdue for me to share with those seeking to expand their life to the next level in health, relationship, career, finances, and spirituality. If you feel any bit inspired by anything in this intro or any episodes to come, just know, if you can be inspired, you are actually meant to inspire others. Now let's dive into an episode. All right, well, welcome to episode 5. I am so happy and grateful that you press play, and most of all, I'm so grateful that your higher self press play. And I have that fundamental belief that our higher self is always seeking expansion, and we always find the things that, like the information that is required for us to get to the next level of us. And as I'm recording this, I'm not only literally my luggage is at the door, I'm about to fly out to Canada for one of my national conferences, but most of all, I also just returned from another conference last week with top 1%ers in my company. And one thing for sure is that top 1% are the kind of people that you want to study. And I remember when I first started to take a look at my network marketing and my business and the industry that I'm part of. And I remember taking a look at the earning statements, which are pretty similar across the board in any industry, like whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a business owner. You know, there's the 1% of people, and then there's the 99% of people, right? And when I took a look at that, I knew for a fact that I didn't want to be the 99%. I made a decision that I wanted to be the 1%. And it was going to, I just have a hard head. And if you're tuning into this, I can almost guarantee that you have a hard head too. And you're like, doesn't matter if it takes me a decade, doesn't matter if it takes me 2 decades, I'm going to make it. And I'm going to find the resources. I'm going to find the people. I'm going to be at the right place that will land me for the right resources and the right alignment for my dreams to actually come true. And for me to not only to get rid of the necessity of survival and really get in a position of leadership and serving other people. And that's really what my mission is with this podcast, is that we can really get rid of the fundamental, oh my God, whether it's pay your bills, worry about your survival, and really get all those things settled. So that way you can get really comfortable, joyful. And of course, when I say comfortable, at any mountain that you climb, there's always going to be a second mountain to climb. Okay. That's without a doubt. There always will be. And if you really want to seek expansion, and I've said this in another episode, it's one of my favorite quotes by Tony Robbins, is really that fulfillment, expansion equals happiness. Expansion equals happiness. And so you'll never get to a point that you go, all right, I'm comfortable here, because guaranteed you're going to feel the need, or you might even end up being in a spiral and do things that are detrimental to your life to create chaos if you don't actually get yourself to push yourself past the barriers of things that are blocking you to get to the next level of you. And you'll see it. I observe it when people, they'll have such an amazing life or great circumstances happening for themselves, but then they get complacent and comfortable. And then all of a sudden they start to create chaos, whether by over drinking or creating arguments in their marriages, or just different types of scenarios of self-sabotage that happen. So I often say we have to purposefully put ourselves uncomfortable, or otherwise life will put us in uncomfortable situations. And that's my mission. Every day I try to do something that makes me feel it makes me feel sticky. And I hope that this really gives you the oomph today to do the things that are really sticky to you and to push through that. So as I'm sitting here, I'm reflecting on being around that presence, and not only having promoted to the top 1% of my company, but most of all, once you get to the 1%, then you realize that there's a 0.001%. Like I said, there's another mountain to climb. But I love being observing of that. So not only having promoted to the 1% of my company, but second of all is observing other 1%ers. And one thing that I've realized over the last decade is that 1%ers are extremely self-aware, extremely self-aware of what they feed themselves nutritionally, what they feed themselves spiritually, what they feed themselves in terms of education, what they feed themselves in terms of media, entertainment, the relationships that they encounter. They're extremely intentional and self-aware. The second thing is that they have incredible boundaries, and they just know exactly where they're going. And as I'm reflecting about the last few days, and not only just really to serve you best in terms of a listener coming in on this, is I think that the one thing that stops us all from progressing to the next level of us is lack of clarity on where we want to go and lack of clarity on what do we really desire. And so, of course, go back to episode 2 on creating a vision, because that really is by far the most important thing, is to get clarity. Because without clarity, we don't have boundaries. When we get clear and intentional about what we want to create in our life. So, for example, you want to get healthy, but you don't have a career or a vision, or you want to just get fit, or you want to lose weight, right? Well, when there's a lack of clarity for that, there's a lack of boundaries. So you'll put yourself in a scenario where you have self-sabotaging friendships around you that go, just have one more burger or whatever, just have some nachos and cheese, or just have some pizza tonight, or it's just tonight. And you'll put yourself in scenarios without creating clear boundaries. And the reality is that when you start to really get clear on where you're heading in your life and what you're creating, it won't be a direction. It's going to end up being a position that you hold. So if you decide that you, let's say, want to promote to the top 1% of your industry, or you're deciding that you're going to become the most fit and healthy, perfect health human being that you know, you're going to really start to embody the what those people do, okay? So the opposite of that is people try to change, just like, let's say, for example, the people who want to lose weight on January 1st, right? What do? They still think that they're fat. They literally sign up to the gym. They do the gym thing for a couple days or a couple weeks, and then next thing you know, it just gets shot out the window. Because the thing is that until you change your identity and you start to attach an emotion to the identity of where you are heading, you're always going to go back to your default. So your default of talking bad self-talk, your default of hanging out with the same people that sabotage your results. And so when I come back to boundaries can be established, and I'm very, very conscious about creating boundaries around myself, but healthy boundaries. Like, I'm so grateful. I have so many incredible relationships around me. I love that I get to not only exchange energy with so many incredible human beings and souls on this life experience, but I do know that for me to be able to serve other people right, or for me to be going out in the world with my best energy, that comes from an intentional point, and that comes from feeding myself spiritually. That comes from a place of feeding myself energetically the right tools without burning myself out. And I'm speaking from total experience, because everything that I'm saying is not comparing myself to anybody else except for my past self. And if you're ever going to compare yourself, always compare yourself to your past self, never to anyone else, because this is your life journey. This is your course. You got to follow your path. But I can definitely tell you that when I was working a 9 to 5 and I was around this energy on a day-to-day basis, it was no surprise now today at where I stand that I was having literally migraines every single Friday. I really believe my body was talking to me. And I mean, I'm not giving medical advice in any way, but I'm just saying from what I know for myself, I know my personal body was talking to me by telling me, woohoo, you got energy vampires around you. Woohoo, you're not creating enough boundaries around you. Oh, wait a minute, you're just exerting all this energy towards other people's dreams and you're not working on your own dreams. It was all triggers that were happening. And you'll notice your body speaks to you if you actually take time to listen. Whether that's with a health diagnosis or a migraine, like I'm saying, or just feeling tired. And I was coaching somebody yesterday, and it breaks my heart because she was saying to me, literally, she's like, I'm burnt out. I'm totally fizzled out. And I always say that when people come back to me and tell me this, because the reason why we feel so tired is because we're doing so little of what lights us up. I'm going to repeat that. The reason why we feel so tired is because we're doing so little of what truly lights us up inside. So what I know for sure is, even though in bringing in this podcast in my life is taking more time, it's actually adding more energy. It energizes me to contribute to the world with my message. It energizes me to do things and use my voice, right? So whether that, you got to find the things that energize you on a day-to-day basis. And the more that you really seek when you're the most happy, every single time that you do something and it brings you immense joy, I know for myself, if I speak to people on the phone, if I'm doing coaching or I'm doing any of those things, I literally can't sleep when I go to bed at night because I'm thinking about my vision. I'm thinking about that person's future. I'm thinking about how we're pushing the needle forward. That lights me up inside. So I hope that you realize maybe you're completely burnt out and you're not feeling any energy. That's time to reassess the things that actually bring you joy. And your job, in an ideal world, you want to be finding a job that doesn't feel like a job. When they say like, you'll never work a day in your life when you find what you really love, something along the lines of that. But I remember hearing that, and I remember thinking, yeah, I never feel like I really work. So somebody from the outside might be looking at my lifestyle and thinking that I work a lot, but the reality is that I feel immense joy on a day-to-day basis from what I do. I feel immense joy from what I'm contributing to. So you might not be in a position to feel immense joy like all the time. You're like, okay, wait a minute, Alex, like I'm working a 40-hour work week. But what the beauty is that if you're working a 40-hour work week that's burning you out, you got to find at least 5 to 10 hours a week after those hours to find the things that light you up, that can push your dream forward after hours of work. Okay. And that's how most entrepreneurs, like I've read, oh my God, you guys, like I have so many books of so many biographies of people that I'm so passionate about reading their lives and like their background. And most people who are successful didn't come from a prosperous family. It's actually the opposite. Most of them came from struggle, and most of them had to like really step out of that and go through hurdles. And one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that I have so many people that have created incredible lives for themselves. And the one thing that a lot of them have in common is that they had a hard childhood. And if you've had stuff that happened in your childhood that was challenging, like throw so much gratitude. And like, if you haven't practiced those, forgiveness, episode 4 is all about forgiveness, and just sweeping the things that might be icky about that, and really send so much gratitude for the person that you've become through the obstacle that you've gone through. And I was saying this to somebody else the other day, and I said, like, be so grateful for the hard, because it taught you how to deal with the hard, because there's going to be some challenging scenarios in life that are going to come by. But the more that you get clarity and you do the things that light you up, the more you're going to find your life opening up totally different, like bringing all the right resources, and you're going to find you have incredible provision over your life to really live so much fulfillment. So now going back to boundaries, okay? Center in right now and think, okay? Whatever time you're listening to this, maybe it's in another year, maybe it's another month, I want you to visualize exactly today, 1 year later, okay? So for example, today I'm recording this, it's November 2nd. November 2nd, 2023 for me, okay? So if you're listening to this on January 30th, then you want to visualize exactly 1 year later, okay? In exactly 1 year, if I tell you, you've just had the best year of your life, I want you to, like, the best, I'm telling you, the very, very best year of your life. I want you to tell me what happened this year. What happened this last year? And describe it. This is an exercise that I absolutely love. Like, I get so passionate and fired up. And that's when people say, like, how do you stay so happy and so excited and so pumped up? Well, I have down days like anybody else. The only reality is that everything that I'm sharing on this show are tactics that I've learned that help me snap out of it and not stay in a state that doesn't serve me anymore really quickly. And this is one of my very favorite exercises, is really to throw myself out there and say, okay, we're 1 year forward, we're 12 months later. And I'm always on a mission of like, I don't want to live the same year over and over again. Like, I really want to recreate my life I want to create new adventures, new things. And it does happen sometimes that I live the same year almost the same twice, but then all of a sudden I'll have a quantum leap the following year. So think about exactly in 12 months from now, if you had the most unbelievable year, describe that year. And as you describe that year, just feel into that. Now, for example, if you describe that as I'm a multi-6-figure earner, I'm a 7-figure earner, now you need to start living from that identity, okay? I give back 10% of my income. I give back 10% of my time, whatever makes you light up in terms of contribution to the world. Literally, whether you purchased a home in an exotic place, or you relocated your family, or you added a child to your family, you got a pet, whatever it is, okay, or you've accomplished this in your business, you've acquired or you created so much equity in your life, or, all these different things that you could be adding into your life, write those down and then start working backwards. So for example, like if I put on the paper that I'm a multi-7-figure earner or 8-figure earner, boundaries come into that. Because somebody who earns, and that was one of the biggest aha moments when I went 1 year from like earning 40,000 to almost in the multi-6 figures. It literally like blew up 1 year. And I was thinking to myself, and this will happen when you start to get really in alignment with yourself, okay? And the thing is that when I started to make that shift of telling myself that I was a 6 and 7-figure earner, I literally started to see like, okay, if I'm a 6 and 7-figure earner, then business is important to me. then, my time is a priority to me. Those things are important. And so when you start to live from that identity, you'll start to work backwards. And so every time that somebody comes into play and starts to come and try to fizzle my energy out, whether that's by just empty time, like to me, it's like business, family, business, of course, my spiritual life, family, business, and then contribution, and then entertainment and all the things. Those are really like how I would categorize it without necessarily like thinking about that often enough. That's really when I look at the structure of my life, the most important things are my spiritual life, my family, my business, my contribution, and then of course the entertainment and the social aspect. So all of those things, but all those things are all intertwined in my life. But I have immense boundaries when it comes to who comes into my sphere for how long, okay? So I heard this exercise at one point and I thought this was so interesting, is like to really assess who is like a 5-minute friend, who's a weekend friend, who's an overnight friend, who's a whole lifetime friend that you speak to every single day, that you really mesh with, mold your life with, because who you hang out with is who you become, okay? And I'm all about like interchanging energy and really elevating ourselves. But if I realize that every time I leave somebody, I'm feeling less high vibrational than I wouldn't technically normally do, then I start to re-question that. Okay, I started to re-question how much time am I really spending with this person and how is it elevating me? Because if I allow someone to reduce my energy in my sphere, then what happens is that I'm not contributing and I'm not living on purpose the way that I should be contributing to the world. And that goes for the same for you. And I think that many people don't realize that boundaries are actually so important, because the more that you're in alignment and the more that you heal yourself and the higher your boundaries are, the more that you're in alignment, you'll be hanging out with people who are extra high vibrational, and you're going to feel all the right people coming into your sphere and all the right people, places, and circumstances. What I see happen so often when I'm coaching people is that they get in the people-pleasing circumstance. And so all of a sudden, the business that was important to them takes wayside because so-and-so friend, they haven't seen them in so long and they needed to spend like 9 hours on an evening and then have one too many drinks. And then now because they did that, they feel exhausted for the rest of the week. So now their business gets to the wayside. When we do those kinds of actions, and I'm just giving that as an example, if you do that kind of action, then that's basically saying to the universe and saying to God, well, you know what? My business is not that important. My social life is more important, right? My present moment is more important than my future self is important. And so I really love to look at my life from, how am I serving my higher self? How am I serving the world by what the things that I'm doing? I know for myself, like I used to maybe have more drinks, but now today I don't really, because I know that it takes away from my vibration. And it always comes back to being high frequency, high vibrational, and all of those things. When you're in alignment, you actually get yourself to be feeling a whole lot better. And again, it's not about acquiring things. It's about feeling really good. And so that when you feel good and you heal yourself, you heal the world. So on that note, that was my message today. And one of the last things that I want to talk about is just my last point that I had as a note here. If you can become a person that creates limits, you're actually going to become a person that literally becomes limitless. Okay? When you create limits, you become limitless. When you create limits, you become limitless. And the last thing is really the fact of going back to last week when I talked about forgiveness. Letting go, like loving on people, whether it's for 5 minutes, love on them with wholeheartedness, but just know that you're respecting yourself and you're respecting your boundaries and you're loving who you are. And when you do that, you give other people an opportunity to set really powerful boundaries for themselves as well. When we sweep our aura clean of forgiving and anybody who makes you feel guilty, just let it go. Because when you hold on to resentment, if you're watching this video, you hold on and quench up to all these energies and these emotions, you can never have an open hand for receiving all the goodness that's really intended for your life. Abundance is your birthright. High vibrations are your birthright. And I hope that this podcast leaves you to a blessed week and filled with so many miracles coming your way as you create healthy boundaries and you continue to release and stay high vibrational. So much love to you. Bye. Thank you so much for pressing play today and joining me for an episode of Inspired for More. If you loved anything about this episode, make sure to take a print screen and tag me on your Instagram stories. Or better yet, copy the link of the episode, share it with a friend, make sure to be subscribed to the channel for latest episode drop-ins. And remember, if you can be inspired, you are actually meant to inspire others. I'm wishing you the most incredible and blessed day, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Take care.